Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We have reached the hadith number 4 from Al-Arba'un al-Nawawi that was compiled by Imam al-Nawawi rahimahullah. This hadith is a very important hadith that Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal rahimahullah, he mentioned that there are 3 hadith from the hadith of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam that is almost 1/3 or of 1/2 or the complete of deen. And these 3 hadith, and specifically what he mentioned of all these 3 hadith, that these 3 hadith complete the entire deen. And from that he mentioned the first one as al-innamal a'malu bin niyyat, and the second one is the hadith that we are going to take now. عن أبي عبد الرحمن عبد الله بن مسعود رضي الله عنه قال حدثنا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إن أحدكم يجمع خلقه في بطن أمه 40 يوما نطفة. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he says, and it was narrated by Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu an, that each and every one of you, that every creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the humankind, that you are collected or you are brought together. يجمع خلقه means to bring together something, يعني أي يضم شيئا مع شيء, يعني to bring together something. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has brought the sperm of the male and the female together, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creates the human being and in the womb of the mother. And in the first 40 days, what is formed is what we call as nutfah. Nutfah is a drop, or what you call as, something that is still a drop and still it is liquidish, and it is about to become a clot or about to become a flesh. And then Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he says ثُمَّ يَكُونُ عَلَقَةً مِثْلَ ذَلِكَ. Then afterwards, the next 40 days, the creation becomes an alaqa. Alaqa means a clot of blood. And then in the next 40 days, ثُمَّ يَكُونُ مُضْغَةً مِثْلَ ذَلِكَ. In the next 40 days becomes a mudgha, which is a morsel of flesh, or pieces of flesh that is binded together. ثُمَّ يُرْسَلُ إِلَيْهِ الْمَلَكُ فَيَنْفُخُ فِيهِ الرُّوحُ وَيُؤْمَرُ بِأَرْبَعِ كَلِمَاتٍ. Afterwards, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends an angel to blow the ruh into that person. And this is where the ruh is blown. And as for this hadith, there is explanation within the scholars, where the scholars had differed. There are scholars who have mentioned, especially from the Maliki madhab, that these 4 or these 3 stages completely happen within the first 40 days. When Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam mentioned mithla dhalik, they interpret it as within the first 40 days itself. And that is why mostly within the scholars of Malikiya, you would see that the fiqh scholars, they would prevent any types of abortion for medical reasons after the first 40 days. While the majority of the ulamas, and which is the most correct opinion according to all 3 madhahibs, and according to the majority of scholars, is that it takes 40 days to a total of 120 days. And in this 120, after this 120 days, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends an angel to blow the ruh into the person. And 4 things are written. There are 4 things that is written, that is the rizq of the person, the ajal, yani until when is he going to live, how long is his lifespan, wa amali, and his deeds, and shaqiyun am sa'id, yani is that person going to be unhappy in this dunya, or is he going to be a happy person? And these 4 things are written. And then Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he mentions فَوَاللَّهِ الَّذِي لَا إِلَهَ غَيْرُهُ إِنَّ أَحَدَكُمْ لا يعمل بعمل أهل الجنة حتى يكون بينه وبينها إلا ذراع فيسبق عليه الكتاب فيعمل بعمل أهل النار فيدخلها وإن أحدكم لا يعمل بعمل أهل النار حتى يكون ما بينه وبينها إلا ذراع فيسبق عليه الكتاب. So afterwards, what happens is Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he promised by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he mentioned that verily one of you would perform actions of the people of paradise, of the people of Jannah, until what has been written in the book of the Qadr, will overtake you to perform the deeds of the people of hellfire until that person ends up in hellfire. And the second type of people are the ones who would perform deeds of the ones who are in hellfire, and until the book, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has written takes over, and they would perform deeds of the ones who are good, of the people of Jannah, until they end up in Jannah. And this hadith, we need to understand it very well. And the very first point that we want to understand here is, if you see in the riwayah, another riwayah of Imam al-Bukhari rahimahullah, in terms of the writing of Qadr, فَيَنْفُخُ فِيهِ الرُّوحِ وَيُؤْمَرُ بِأَرْبَعِ كَلِمَاتٍ. The ruh is blown and there are 4 things written for that person. In the riwayah of Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, it has been switched, where the 4 things are written and then the ruh is blown. And from that we understand, the scholars have made it very clear that the ruh is blown, and the qadr is written for a person twice in his lifetime. The very first time that is written, it is mentioned in a hadith by Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, that was narrated by Hudhayfa bin al-Ghifari radiyallahu an in Sahih al-Muslim, where it is written after the very first 40 days of the creation of someone, of a person or a being in the womb of the mother. The second time is according to this hadith which we had learned today, the hadith that was narrated by Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu an, the hadith of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, which Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam mentions that it is written after the first 3 levels of 40 days, after the first 4 months, and that is 120 days. So the reason why the qadr is being written twice, the scholars mention that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed a person, has written certain things while the person is in the womb, and the reason it being written again and again is to make it more firm and to make it very strong and solid. As we all know, when we write something, even on a piece of paper, when we write in just with the same letters or same handwriting, and then again we take the pen and we again write it on the exact same spot, the words are being endorsed into the book, where it is being more strong, it is firm, and now it's very hard to erase. And that is the same reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has written or has let opportunities be there where the qadr is written multiple times. And this is where we could make more dua from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He blesses us more and more, and He blesses in what He has written for us. If you would see each and every anbiya, each and every prophet, the way they raised their children, the very first thing they did was they made dua before the child was born. They made dua before even the wife got pregnant. Ibrahim alayhi salam, he made dua way before, even he made dua for his entire generation. In many of the dua that is mentioned in the Quran, you would find he says وَذُرِّيَّتِي, and he makes dua for his entire generation. Likewise, if you would see the dua of Zakaria alayhi salam, he makes dua for his child before even he is blessed with a child, or even before his wife becomes pregnant. Likewise, many of the prophets who brought out salihin, who of their children became salihin, they made dua for their children even before their creation in the womb. And that is something very important. That is part of the tarbiyah of children. We as parents, we make sure that we make dua for our children before they are in the womb, and also in the beginning stages, that they are in the womb. And these are places where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala writes that barakah, writes that rahmah, the mercy of Him for our children. And likewise, when it comes to the last part, that is when of the hadith where Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam mentioned that a person would do the deed of the people of Jannah until the book takes over, and he does the deeds of the people of hellfire, and he goes to hellfire. And this hadith, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he made it more clear in another hadith that was narrated by Sahal bin Sa'd radiyallahu an, that is narrated in both al-Bukhari and Muslim, where Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he added a certain word which makes the meaning more clear. Inna ar-rajula la ya'malu 'amala ahli al-jannah fima yabdu lin-nas. What does this mean? That is, the person, you would see the person, the actual meaning of the hadith is that this person you would see doing the deeds of the people of Jannah. And that is what the people can see. That is what you can see from the outside. Oh, this person is praying, this person is doing so and so. But inside him, he's not doing it for the correct reasons. Inside him, his niyyah or his intention or his sincerity is completely wrong. And that is where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, during the ends of times of this person, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes him does the the real deeds, what he really intended for, and his intentions were really not the correct ones. And he would do those deeds of the people of hellfire until he ends up in hellfire. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save us from these type of people, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save us from this type of situation. While the second person that you see, the person who does the deeds of the people of hellfire, inside him, his niyyah was to do something good. But maybe what ends up in the eyes of people is that this person is doing something wrong. Or his actual intention was correct. He was sincere to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we have heard many stories of people where, the people they used to mention of so and so as, someone who would go and, go out at night and come late back home, accusing him of so and so. And people had certain things in their minds, and we have heard this throughout history. And later on, where they found out to be the real story being that person went out at night so that he can give sadaqah in secret, or he can help people in secret. And so many of this we have heard. And these are the types of things that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam has mentioned here as فِيمَا يَبْدُو لِلنَّاسِ or فِيمَا يَظْهَرْ لِلنَّاسِ. That is what the people can see, is that, as if he's doing the sins or the wrong deeds of Ahlul Nar. But at the end of times, Allah will make sure that he is seen as the correct person doing the deeds of Ahlul Jannah, and he enters Jannah. So likewise doesn't mean that, when you see someone doing something wrong, that, you be like, I have a good intention that maybe, he's doing something good. No, we still have the ruling upon us. It's obligated upon us about al-amr bil ma'ruf wa nahi anil munkar, as to do the good and forbade the bad, and to take people away from bad and counsel them to good. That is something that is mandated upon us, and we have to definitely do it. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us from the ones who are righteous, from the ones who will enter Jannatul Firdaus ila ala.